Beneath Australia's Great Western Highway, something was moving. Serious cracks had appeared across the road, sandstone walls were bulging, and instruments inside Mitchell's Causeway were warning that a structure built by convict road gangs almost 2 centuries ago could no longer be trusted beneath live traffic. On the 8th of March 2026, authorities closed Victoria Pass. This was not a small pothole with excellent public relations. The roadway sits on sandstone retaining walls packed with earth and rubble. Investigations found that the old internal fill had deteriorated, leaving voids and gaps. The structure was moving, but the bedrock beneath it remained stable. That gave engineers one possible escape. Deep piles will descend through the unstable causeway and anchor into bedrock. Those piles will support a new bridge above the old road, carrying traffic independently while the historic stonework is stabilised below. Seymour White was selected to build it. Major work was scheduled from July 2026, with 1 lane in each direction targeted to reopen during the second quarter of 2027. The moment the highway closed, that date became a regional countdown. But the emergency bridge also exposed a larger failure. Governments once committed more than 4.5 billion Australian dollars to upgrade the highway on either side of this crossing. An 11-kilometre tunnel was proposed through the middle. Then, the larger construction project was cancelled. The tunnel remained unfunded. The old road began failing after the modern one disappeared from the budget. If you enjoy mega projects where the missing piece matters more than the finished pieces, subscribe to Mega Projects. The Great Western Highway extends about 201 kilometres from Sydney across the Blue Mountains toward Bathurst and the central west of New South Wales. It carries residents, tourists, agricultural products and freight between the coast and inland communities. More than 100 kilometres have been progressively upgraded since 1998, but the last 34 kilometres between Katoomba and Lithgow remained stubbornly difficult. The road climbs through towns, follows narrow sandstone ridges, crosses steep valleys, and descends Victoria Pass. It runs beside a railway and through a World Heritage landscape. Homes, waterways, cultural heritage, and vulnerable habitats leave very little empty space for a modern 4-lane highway. Much of the remaining route was 1 lane in each direction. Its curves and gradients restricted most heavy vehicles to 19 metres. A crash, bushfire, landslide, or storm could interrupt the corridor because there was limited room to pass and few good alternatives. Traffic now detours through Chifley Road and the Darling Causeway. Trains and coaches still connect the region with Sydney, but the longer road route concentrates traffic on roads never intended to replace the highway. Every diverted truck is a reminder that the backup route was never designed to become the main route. The government committed $50 million to strengthen those detours and introduced support for affected businesses. The closure turned an engineering defect into an economic experiment with no pause button. And it raised a dangerous question. How did a $4.5 billion answer vanish before the old road beneath it gave way? The original upgrade had 3 broad sections. East ran from Katoomba to Blackheath. West ran from Little Hartley toward Lithgow. Between them sat the central section, including Victoria Pass. In 2022, New South Wales committed $2.5 billion and the Australian government $2.03 billion for the east and west proposals. The centrepiece was separate, twin tunnels approximately 11 kilometres long beneath Blackheath and Mount Victoria. Each would carry 2 lanes, reaching about 200 metres below the surface at the deepest point. They would have been Australia's longest road tunnels. They were also unfunded. Then the funding plan unravelled. In November 2023, a federal infrastructure review removed Australian government funding from the larger construction project. New South Wales had already paused the major sections. The state later wrote off project assets, and its audit office listed the upgrade among cancelled projects. The smaller packages already under construction continued. The retreat had a financial logic. Infrastructure Australia calculated that the east and west sections returned only about 57 cents in quantified benefits for each dollar of cost. Even after wider benefits were added, the result remained below 70 cents. Yet the same assessment warned that without the central section, as much as 37% of the east and west benefits might never appear. The road needed its expensive middle to justify its expensive ends. The ends were easier to build, the center made them valuable, and when the center vanished, the completed pieces were left pointing toward 11 kilometers of untouched mountain. Two smaller projects escaped because construction was already moving. At Medlow Bath, crews widened about 1.2 kilometers of highway and rebuilt connections around the railway station. A curved pedestrian bridge now links the town and station above the traffic. It is approximately 105 meters long, weighs 178 tons, and arrived in 6 large steel segments. The bridge and accessible station works opened in April 2025, while highway work continued afterward. A ribbon can be cut while the asphalt crew is still checking its calendar. West of the mountains, the $232 million Cox River Road upgrade transformed about 2.4 kilometers at Little Hartley. It created a divided 4-lane alignment and a grade-separated interchange. Traffic shifted onto the new road in April 2025. That interchange was designed to connect with the western portal of the future tunnel. The portal does not exist. The completed packages improve safety and local traffic flow, but they cannot bypass the narrow towns and fragile descent between Blackheath and Little Hartley. One upgraded end waits near Katoomba, another waits at Little Hartley. Between them, traffic still depended on Mitchell's Causeway. The modern highway reaches toward the mountain from both sides. Then it stops. On paper, the missing tunnel is enormous. Tunnel boring machines would carve separate tubes through sandstone from Little Hartley toward Blackheath. Each tube would contain 2 traffic lanes, shoulders, drainage, ventilation, lighting, communications, and emergency systems. The tunnel would avoid Victoria Pass, carry longer freight vehicles on gentler grades, and remove through traffic from constrained mountain towns. It would also create new risks. The route passes through fractured rock and groundwater systems near a World Heritage landscape. Portal excavation could affect shallow aquifers and water reaching sensitive swamps and creeks. Ventilation, construction compounds, spoil storage, energy use, and emergency access all required years of assessment. Then came price and time. An 11-kilometer twin tunnel is not a shortcut in construction. It would require years of excavation, lining, fit-out, and testing before a single vehicle entered it. A design can be technically advanced and financially absent at the same time. The environmental assessment runs through thousands of pages. The excavation machines have advanced precisely 0 meters. And while the tunnel remained trapped on paper, the road it was meant to replace was moving in the real world. Mitchell's Causeway opened in October 1832. Surveyor General Thomas Mitchell had chosen a direct descent through Victoria Pass. Convict road gangs cut into the mountain, quarried sandstone, and filled a deep gap between rocky outcrops. 2 masonry walls held an earth and rubble core in place. The northern wall is roughly 115 meters long and reaches up to 11 meters high. The roadway runs across the top. Horse carts became cars. Cars became articulated trucks. Barriers and asphalt were added, but underneath, the structure remained sandstone, earth, and rubble. By late 2025, Transport for New South Wales had enhanced monitoring at the site. Those instruments became an alarm system buried inside the highway. Then, in March 2026, the readings and visible defects became impossible to ignore. Cracks opened. Walls bulged. The internal mass shifted. Engineers closed the highway before deterioration became a collapse beneath live traffic. 4 weeks of drilling and monitoring revealed degraded fill, voids, and gaps. The surface still looked like a road. Underneath, parts of the structure were slowly becoming spaces where structure used to be. The tunnel had no funding. The old crossing had no time. Engineers needed a third answer, and they had to build it without destroying the historic structure already moving beneath them. The selected repair will not ask the old causeway to begin a 3rd century carrying modern highway loads. The new bridge will pass above it. Deep piles will transfer traffic loads into stable bedrock. The bridge deck will remain independent from the old retaining walls and fill. Below, crews will stabilise the heritage structure rather than demolish one of the rarest surviving examples of colonial road engineering in New South Wales. The separation is elegant. Building it will not be. Crews must drill, grout, and install heavy foundations on a steep mountain pass beside fragile stonework. They must build through the failing structure without loading it, preserve it without trusting it, and reopen the region without waiting for the tunnel. The initial plan restores one lane in each direction, the same bottleneck that existed before the closure. The bridge can accommodate another lane in the future, but that lane is not yet committed. The final repair cost has not been disclosed either. Funding exists in the state budget, but commercial negotiations were continuing while New South Wales discussed a Commonwealth contribution. The clock has a deadline, but not yet a public price tag. The target remains the second quarter of 2027. Until vehicles cross, every delay is measured twice, once on the construction schedule and again on the detour. The emergency bridge is both a rescue and a return to the starting point. When it opens, traffic should cross Victoria Pass again with one lane in each direction. That will restore the connection and relieve the detour. It will not create the continuous 4-lane corridor once promised between Katoomba and Lithgow. The completed projects at Medlow Bath and Cox River Road remain useful, but useful pieces are not a completed system. For businesses and residents, the current calculation is not an abstract benefit-cost ratio. It is whether customers arrive, whether freight makes its delivery window, whether a worker follows the old timetable or joins a stream of diverted traffic. The government can strengthen detours, add coaches, and support businesses. None of those measures turns the detour into the Great Western Highway. Mitchell's Causeway lasted almost 2 centuries because 19th century engineers found a bold answer to a brutal landscape. Their solution used sandstone walls, convict labour, and an enormous mass of fill. The 21st century answer is the opposite. Bypass the old load path, drill into bedrock, and suspend a new crossing above it. If the schedule holds, vehicles should travel above the causeway again in 2027. Beneath them, the old structure will remain stabilised between the rocks, no longer carrying every axle between Sydney and the Central West. It will be remarkable engineering, and a 150-metre reminder of the 11 kilometres still missing. The new bridge will carry traffic above the old road. The cancelled mega project will still be waiting on both sides. So what should Australia build next? The complete tunnel? Smaller resilience upgrades? Or only the projects that justify their cost on their own?